Welcome, everybody. Welcome to NCSA and welcome to the University of Illinois. I know a number of you have traveled from pretty far away to be here for this exciting event today. So I'm Ed Seidel. I'm the director of NCSA since last January, and I'm very pleased to be here and to be back on the campus after a long journey. And you'll hear a little bit about that later as it's impacted my views and I think many of our views on what a university is and what a university really needs to be in the 21st century. And I think today is a fantastic event where we take some time out of our extremely busy day, and we have very busy people here who've taken the time to come join us. And we have two events, the second of which, and in fact, I wanted to do the second one first to point out that life is nonlinear and it doesn't always come in the order you expect. That we're going to sit back and we have a panel to really discuss and explore these issues of how a 21st century university needs to respond to a number of things that are facing all of us. So the first one is that science, society, research, and education are changing so incredibly rapidly. And I just gave a talk yesterday at the National Science Foundation where I pointed out in astronomy, basically for about 500 years, people did the same thing. And in the last 20 years, it's totally different with increases in computing and data by something like 9 or 10 orders of magnitude after not changing very much. And that's the sort of step function change that we're all facing. So how do universities adjust to this sort of very rapid change? And how do we begin to think about the kinds of problems that we're facing in society that are a lot more complex than merely solving PDEs, which are very, very hard, you might think. But at least we have PDEs. It's well known, more or less, how to solve them. But the problems we're facing these days are a lot more complicated than that. And so how do we create the right structures in universities in order to do that? And then finally, to think about universities' role as engines of innovation. So we are expected to be generating the ideas and the new economies that come out of science or that come out of the research that we do or out of engineering or out of the humanities, and increasingly it's out of all of those. And there's a lot of economic pressure on us. So how do we actually respond to that? So these are things that aren't necessarily what universities have been doing for hundreds of years, but it's the new challenge of the 21st century. So we'll come back and discuss that. So, but first, I wanted to take a sort of just as important, but a little bit lighter topic in the sense that we're going to just sit back and we're going to celebrate some fantastic people that have come through the University of Illinois and recognize their achievements. And both the University of Illinois and NCSA have produced a number of leaders, many leaders for the nation, and so we're going to start right here in recognizing them. So the first event is then to recognize Austin Lin. Austin is sitting here, and he'll be up here in a second, as the first Fiddler Innovation Fellow as part of the eDream NCSA Fiddler Innovation Endowment, and will be also announced this evening at the UI Foundation. So Austin will be up here in a minute, and I'll just introduce a few others before we really get started with the program. So Jerry Fiddler, Jerry is sitting right here also in the front. Jerry is an alum who received a bachelor's degree in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and had an individual plan of study in 1974, and then had a Master of Science degree in computer science in 1977. And we want to thank Jerry for his generosity to the university, and Jerry will tell his story a little bit later. Austin Lin, as I just mentioned a minute ago, Austin will be receiving the award this evening and just in a few minutes, but Austin received his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater in 2014 with a concentration on stage management with a minor in computer science. And that may seem like an unusual combination, but increasingly it's exactly this sort of thing where we're bringing together multiple disciplines in order to think about how you really go out into society and make a real difference. And I think that's the crux of what we're trying to get at today. The next is Ping Fu. Ping is sitting right here. Ping is also an alumnus both of NCSA as someone who did incredible work here, and she'll get into that a little bit later, and has a master's degree in computer science. And then finally, Brand Fortner, Dr. Brand Fortner, who has a bachelor's degree in engineering physics and a master's in physics and then a PhD in physics, and also was a former NCSA employee. So those are our sort of our honor roll of people that you will be hearing much more from later. But right now I want to introduce first with a few remarks Andreas Cangellaris, who's the Dean of the College of Engineering, Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and an expert in electromagnetics and device design and such things. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Anytime I come to NCSA, what always crosses my mind is that there's nothing that beats something novel, something out of expectation happening on a campus. This is what makes a campus a destination for curious and ambitious students. I want you to appreciate the fact that you will hear about Austin Lin very soon. He, in my mind, personifies why technology cannot happen anywhere else but in a place where we call a comprehensive institution. Because I can tell you advances happen only in places where people have the opportunity, coming in unbiased about the things they want to do with their lives, to get exposed to everything, to follow their passions, to get excited about the things they want to do, and most important, to learn from others, following the passions of others. And you will hear the story about Austin, and you will see the pattern that he followed in his life. And I will tell you, many of the people we celebrate today, and many of the most exciting pioneers that came out of the Illinois family share that common theme. And that is, they came to an institution that endorses, supports, fosters the idea that everyone can choose to do whatever they want to do, and in doing so, accomplish something that benefits the lives of others. Entrepreneurship, innovation is something that is not new to the University of Illinois. Perhaps what is new is a significant emphasis over the past several years to make that an integral part of the experience of our students on campus. As I said, you cannot make that happen. You cannot attract that top talent if you do not always come up with something new. When NCSA was established here, it was something new. And just think of the history of NCSA, of what the impact it had on the world. And so we need to always stay ahead of the curve. We are influenced by the things that are happening around us, but at the same time, because of that, we should be thinking of what is going to happen 30, 40, 50 years down the road. And we should be investing in that long-term vision by making sure the students come here because they are getting excited about something new on this campus. I can tell you, in my college, we view the convergence of sciences, humanities, engineering, business, and law, and the arts as a way to innovate in a century and the next century that cares so much about human life. Never before have I seen people so focused on human life, the sustainability of the planet and the species. And I tell you, I believe Illinois is going to have a significant impact on that, and it is because of entities like NCSA that stand out, because of their difference, because of the opportunities they present to us, that will make that happen. We need those things. We are investing in engineering and growing that. We are taking the Granger Library, and we are rethinking of how to make that a place of collaboration of students from engineering and elsewhere on campus to come together, to share their passions, to innovate. How do we keep more of our faculty engaged in that community in ways that through their ideas and their passions of coming up with the next big thing, they attract students to work with them and be part of that experience? A lot to happen, a lot to do, and we need the best minds on this campus to make this happen, because at the end of the day, it's people that make the difference. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited to celebrate with some of the graduates of the College of Engineering, but also, most important, some of the graduates of the College of Engineering that took advantage of the University of Illinois experience to succeed in their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. Thanks, Andreas. You can see why I like to have Andreas come over and say a few words about NCSA. Thank you. So next, we're pleased that Mike Ross is able to join us. Mike is the director of the Krannert Center for the Performing Arts, and he's the associate dean of the College of Fine and Applied Arts. And we had a great discussion over in the Krannert Center a few months ago, or sometime around May, I think, and we noted that there are many, many similarities between NCSA and the Krannert Center, and the fact that we are integrators of different kinds of things across the campus. So I think we have a lot in common. Look forward to working with you, and please come on up.
I just want to add my thanks to the folks here at NCSA for making so many things possible over the years. This is a very special campus, and I know that people sometimes talk about the divide between the north and the south side of campus. That is to say, for those of you who are not familiar with the joint, divides, which I think are quite artificial in so many ways, between the engineering and sciences side of the university work and that of the humanities and the arts. And it's such Austin Lynn is such a beautiful example of how those two sides can come together. Also, from my own experience here since arriving in 1997, I have had the great privilege to work in collaborations between artists and engineers and technologists and scientists. This is a campus that is magnificent in its openness and willingness to support that kind of exploration. And of course, Jerry Fiddler is, if only we could, if only 1,000 more Jerry Fiddlers could come from this environment in the years ahead, and I think Austin's a very beautiful example of the kind of outcome that this university is capable of producing. By the way, just to, if you don't know Jerry already, as a philanthropist, he's not just a philanthropist, he is a very strategic philanthropist, and I'm sure you're going to learn a lot more about that soon. I've had the pleasure of knowing Austin during his years here as an undergraduate, and watched him with many different kinds of personalities in many different settings. But I wanted to be able to say a little bit more about his role as in the realm of stage management. And so I reached out to one of my fabulous Krannert Center colleagues, Terry Ciofalo, who is now the head of our stage management program. And I asked her if she would just jot down a couple of things that might help our audience today learn a little bit more about Austin and maybe in passing about stage management. So I'm going to read directly from what Terry provided me with, because I was so pleased with what she said. So I'll try not to mess this up for you, Austin. If you attend any theater, opera, or dance performance at Krannert Center, there is a team of stage managers making sure that you experience the finest work as envisioned by the directors and designers and executed with artistry and precision every time. The stage manager is the hub of the artistic and technical production wheel, overseeing every detail of a show from the opening curtain to the final bows. The very best stage managers are keen data analysts, vigilant logistical planners, gifted communicators, and compassionate leaders. But they are also committed artists, drawn to the arts for its power to impact our psyche, build our community, and change our world. It's not common to find every one of these characteristics in one person, but Austin Lynn embodies them all. As a freshman, Austin had the grades, test scores, and academic background to have entered any one of the science programs on campus, but instead he chose the theater department and the stage management program. Austin was excited about the prospect of someday being able to be at the helm of a big production and quickly began to engage in as many production activities as he could. While Austin may have initially been drawn to stage management because he liked the analytical and logistical challenges, he began to discover that learning how to stage manage was learning and how to lead. In studying stage management, he was learning everything from project management to business communication to critical thinking and problem solving. And he also learned he was an artist. Always curious and ready to explore the new, Austin used his time at Illinois to experiment. He became interested in medicine and as a sophomore considered being a doctor. He made plans to enter the pre-med program, but in the end remained in stage management because he could see how the demands of the program were forcing him to develop a quote-unquote bedside manner that he knew he would need to be a successful physician. He figured medicine could be the next degree. He was excited about the leader he was becoming and what he was learning about himself and his own potential through his training as a stage manager. As a junior, he attempted a double major in computer science that eventually became a minor, but in the process started to create databases to help with stage management projects. Through Krannert Center projects with artists of various sorts, he connected with eDream and realized that he had a role and a place where art and science intersect. Austin's theater career at Illinois is impressive. He served as a stage manager for Illinois Theater's main stage production of Dracula and a collaborative evening-long dance piece choreographed by members of the dance faculty. He worked with professional artists, including serving as stage manager for the premiere of Carol Armitage's Fables on Global Warming. Carol is a world-renowned choreographer. And work on the demo being the title of a piece of devised work by multimedia composer and performer Michael Rouse, exploring the development of personal computing. Michael is also a world-renowned artist who has appeared along with Carol in virtually all of the major international festivals and many other venues over the years. He was assistant stage manager for productions of Macbeth and The Crucible, worked on dance concerts, and also stage managed for the events department, assisting with Krannert Center's public programming. Austin served as the technical coordinator for the Illinois High School Theater Festival when it was in residence at Krannert Center, and also worked with his classmates to lead workshops for the high school students. Through all of his academic explorations, the only other thing that remained as a constant for Austin, besides stage management, was politics. Austin was savvy and informed when it came to government, politics, and constitutional law. He eagerly followed the progress of presidential campaigns and often talked about being able to apply his management skills towards the election of the next president. When Austin chose to apply for an internship at the White House, his teachers knew he would be an outstanding candidate if only they could explain to the political world what a stage manager was. Austin's internship led to full-time employment at the White House, and he had to finish his final semester of school remotely, Skyping in to complete his last stage management class. I hope that gives you an idea of how special this guy is. It's such a privilege and honor, and I know that the theater department and all of us in the College of Fine and Applied Arts are extremely proud of you, Austin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. That was great. So next, I'm really pleased to introduce someone who's known certainly to everyone here at NCSA and across the campus, Professor Donna Cox. Donna is the director of the eDream project, Emerging Digital Research and Education in Arts and Media, and the director of the Advanced Visualization Lab at NCSA, professor in the School of Art and Design and College of Fine and Applied Arts, and has just been a source of unbounded energy coming out of this place since the very early first days. And so I'm pleased to have you here, and as my friend, come on up, Donna, so please.
Thank you. This is just wonderful. It's my honor to do yet another introduction of Austin Lin. I want to say, and I want to be perfectly clear, that at this first mention of Austin being an operations staff assistant for presidential personnel at the White House, a position he has held since 2014, that the White House he is not representing. They've requested that we say this. It is a disclaimer that he does not represent the president, that he does not represent the White House. I just want to be perfectly clear. previously, Austin, before taking this position, was pursuing his degree, and he was one of the first generation fellows of SPIN, Students Pushing Innovation program here at NCSA that was also eDream helped to launch that event, and that actually took place in this auditorium 2 years ago. And Jerry Fiddler spoke and gave the kickoff keynote for that event. Austin came up, shook his hand, was inspired, pursued a proposal. I know there are SPIN students here today, and he was just inspired by what he heard from Jerry Fiddler. And at the same time, as Mike described, he was stage manager and doing all these other things. He was and is a Renaissance person. And then on his own initiative, and it helped with all the technology that he knew, with his background, with being associated with NCSA, he applied for the internship at the White House in the summer of 2013. You know, he just, from the very beginning, as we met and started to get to know Austin, he certainly had vision, initiative. We realized, and our eDream team, we just had to make a recognition. He just rose above the other students. He was great at taking technology and integrating it, understanding it, harnessing it, a wide variety of technologies, with the visionary goal that he wanted to change the field of the performing arts. He showed an outstanding ability to lead other students, to lead faculty and staff, and today we are giving this recognition because it is in the true spirit of the gift of the Fiddler Innovation Endowment that will be officially recognized tonight. But we recognize Austin Lin today for his interdisciplinary leadership and creativity. This award also honors Jerry Fiddler, who for his generosity to the University of Illinois, to eDream and NCSA, he has been so much more than just a giver of the endowment. He has participated, he's interacted with students, he's come here several times, he's met with classes from Guy Garnett. He is really involved in helping to transform this university into the university of the future. He's also a principal of Zygote Ventures, has helped create and grow numerous companies as CEO and chairman, director, investor, advisor, and includes Solazyme. He's the founder and CEO, chairman of Wind River, and has been so for over 23 years. And Wind River software is probably in many of your electronic devices that you're using today. He was Foundation Capital Executive in Residence and is also a UC Berkeley Adjunct Professor teaching entrepreneurship and organizational behavior. He's an accomplished photographer, makes beautiful images, is also a musician, plays in a band. It is my honor to have Jerry Fiddler here to come to the stage and to say a few words about the intentions of his gift and to present the first Fiddler Innovation Fellow to Austin Lin.
Hello. So there is this thing now, the Fiddler Innovation Fellowship, or Fiddler Innovation Endowment, that has a few things. And I was asked to say a little about what that is and why I did it. So I'm going to read a very short thing that's actually from the document that created this. My intent is to enable those students with a cross-disciplinary vision to work on those interesting and urgent problems and opportunities, both in the hope of finding solutions outside of existing categories and with the benefit of opening up their lives and careers to new directions ripe for exploration. I was here at the university from 69 to 77. I wasn't real fast. In and out. I was at the Art Institute of Chicago for a year, but mostly I was here during that time. And my undergraduate career, I had a bunch of different majors, and I mean, I really whipsawed. I went from chemistry to graphic design and back to geology. And before LAS generously allowed me to create the program I wanted, which was a sort of a weird double major in music and photography. And that was before I went on to a master's in computer science. During that time, the silos, the university is a very siloed sort of institution. It's been organized in the way it's organized for a few hundred years. That's a very foreign thing to those of us in business because we reorganize every few years and turn everything upside down. University hasn't changed too much. And when I was here, those silos had broken down a lot for a number of reasons. I think protests and a real change that my generation was driving. And it was possible for me to do that. I could get around and if I look at the experiences that were really important to me, they were all, like I said here, they were kind of between the cracks. And I think since then it's gotten harder to do that. The university has become again more siloed. And when I first started coming around here again after being gone for a few decades, I found that there really was a core of people that wanted to move back in that direction. And for me, that's what got me to do this. What I really wanted to do was to help reopen that, to help make it possible for people who didn't fall into any of the categories to do something that really was outside that, because I think that's really important. It was important to my life, and I think it's important. Maybe we'll get into that more a little later as to why. But the thing that made it possible was the fact that the people were here who had the vision. So people like Donna Cox with the eDream program and the SPIN program that was coming around and the support that they were getting from NCSA and the work that was happening in computer science with Rob Rutenbar and creating the Informatics Institute and these sort of cross-disciplinary majors, computational, I think there's computational linguistics and several others. So all of this stuff was here. And really all it needed was a bit of a push, and so that got me really excited to do that. Although I wrote a check, really the real work was the thinking and the energy that was here that made it possible to do that, because it's very easy to write a check and have it have no effect at all. And in this case, it has a large effect, and the reason is the people who are here to actually create and do something about the vision. So one of the first tangible products of that is, in fact, this award that I'm thrilled to offer. So please. I met Austin for the first time last night. It's been a real pleasure. So this is the award. Let me read some of it. Fiddler Innovation Fellow, Austin Lin, 2014, in recognition of interdisciplinary leadership and creativity from NCSA and eDream. So congratulations. Are we done? You still? Okay, we're done. I'll leave this with you.
Thanks. You want to have a seat up here?
Thank you.
I just wanted to say a few words of thanks, especially to Jerry for his generous gift and for this award, to Donna Cox and the entire eDream team who really took me in when I kind of came from the theater world, not knowing a lot about their work, and kind of knocked on the door and said, hey, can I participate, and welcomed me in. NCSA for their support of eDream and kind of creating that institution. And then especially to Krannert Center, to Mike Ross and to Rebecca McBride, to the theater department, Terry Ciafalo, Cindy Coker, and Karen Quisenberry, who really stayed with me my entire career here at Illinois and kind of were my home and took care of me the whole time and allowed me to go out and to experience other things on campus, something that I think would have been easy for them to say, yes, good luck, go out on your own, and instead they were willing to invest. Even when I was talking to them about leaving the program, they were willing to sit down with me and kind of help me figure out what that next path was going to be. So thank you very much.
Great. Congratulations, by the way. So we're now going to move smoothly on to part 2 of this afternoon's event. We're going to begin the panel on the entrepreneurship and transformative thinking. And so for the next hour and a half or thereabouts, we'll have time to explore some different viewpoints on this, and so we'll each have a few things to say, and then we'll have some questions, and we really want people in the audience to be involved. So please speak up with some questions, and we hope to have a really kind of fun discussion about this. So before we start that, let me now get into the introductions of the other distinguished panelists. So Ping Fu. Ping has graciously taken some time out of her extremely hectic schedule to come join us, and we had a delightful drive down here this morning. I knew Ping a bit when I was here many years ago. It was really great to reconnect. So Ping is the Vice President and the Chief Entrepreneur Officer of 3D Systems. She also co-founded a company called GeoMagic on the UIUC campus here in 1997, which was then acquired by 3D Systems last year. Before GeoMagic, Ping was part of the team that developed the NCSA Mosaic web browser, and if you haven't seen it, there's a little plaque right out in front there about the development of that web browser. And as we all know, that little undergraduate student project ended up really changing the world. You couldn't imagine doing almost anything these days without a web browser, and they're not just on your computers as they initially were, but they're on practically every kind of computational device, whether it's a phone or even these days a watch that you might have, right? So it's extraordinary, and it's added enormous amounts of wealth in terms of the global economy. I mean, trillions of dollars, literally. So it's extraordinary. Ping was announced as the Entrepreneur of the Year by Inc. magazine in 2005. She serves on President Obama's National Advisory Board for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and she has a book, extraordinary book about her story called Bend Not Break, about her journey from China to the United States and then on to entrepreneurship and so on. So Ping, would you like to come up and join us? And next, as I mentioned earlier, we have Dr. Brand Fortner here. Brand is a physicist, an astrophysicist, so therefore I'm very fond of Brand immediately as an astrophysicist myself. I knew Brand here as a graduate student when I first came here as a postdoc in 1989, and we got to know each other. And like a lot of people, Brand got immersed into the incredible culture of innovation that was going on not just on the campus, but especially here at NCSA. And went on to also form companies, and he is currently the executive director of the IRODS Consortium at the Renaissance Computing Institute. Some of you may know it, at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, founded, by the way, by NCSA's second director, Dan Reed. Previous positions of Brand's included research professor at North Carolina State University, chief scientist of the Intelligence Exploitation Group at Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab, and the founder of Spyglass and Fortner Software. So, Brand, it's a pleasure to have you here with us. So I should have added in also, Brand has also been extremely generous to the university and is probably one of the few astrophysicists to be able to have the capacity to endow an endowed chair in theoretical astrophysics. So this has been a terrific gift to the university as well. So let me now just turn to some discussions. Let's get right into that. So I wanted to start with a few remarks of my own about the future of universities. And I've had an extremely privileged career myself in order to have a number of different experiences. And the thing that really started me on my current path wasn't really graduate school, or I guess it was my mother probably way back when, but it's really my experience here when I came to NCSA in 1989. I came here for my second postdoc, having been brought up mostly on the East Coast, and I thought I would just spend another 2 years in the Midwest, and that would be it, and I would move on. And I found myself absolutely overwhelmed with the innovation and the energy coming out of the University of Illinois And it just completely changed not only my career, but my life. So I came here as a student, or as a postdoc, but as a student of Einstein's equations, just like Larry Smarr. In fact, I was Larry's postdoc to start off. And I immediately learned that you can't really solve those equations, even though they're well-known equations, but they're too complicated. So you need to work with others. And I began to understand, even though I've been trained as a theoretical physicist, I couldn't solve them. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just use a computer to solve them. And I couldn't do that either. And so then I found I needed to work with people who were applied mathematicians. And so, in fact, I started working with Paul Saylor. And in fact, I got my first grant with Paul Saylor, who was a professor in the computer science department here. And then it turns out we needed to know about how you parallelize codes. And then what do you do with all the data that comes out of this? You have to work with people, and I began to work with Donna and others, and some of the most inspiring collaborations I think I've ever had on visualization. And so I began to really think about how you not only communicate science, but you need to bring in new techniques to understand the science that you do, and so on. And then, of all things, I'm working like the purest area of physics, mathematical physics, and you think I have nothing whatever to do. I work on black holes. What would I have to do with a company? There aren't any companies in astrophysics, really. And so it turns out Schlumberger was here, and I met Elaine Kant, and we developed a relationship where we both had to solve complicated PDEs. Mine was about black holes, hers was about black oil. And it turned out that we were trying to do parallel computing on the CM5, the Connection Machine 5, which is at that time a very large-scale supercomputer, one that completely also changed the kind of science that could be done as well. And so I just learned that it really does take a village to solve these complex problems, and that was my first real training on that. And I also learned a lot about the sociology of large collaborations and how that's usually the toughest part of it all. It's not just the technology, it's not just the sciences. How do you actually work in collaborations? What are the sort of social skills that are needed? How does that actually operate? And then how do you attribute credit in large collaborations and so on? So all of these things are issues that we're struggling with, and it's getting worse and worse in the sense of just getting more complex problems. So now in that particular area, people are now solving not just black hole problems, but they're adding in hydrodynamics and electrodynamics and nuclear physics for equations of state and radiation transport and you name it. And these are entirely separate communities that somehow have to be brought together to work on complex problems. And so there's a completely new culture of working. So I learned very deeply about the importance of teams for integrating the knowledge to solve complex problems, even something as narrow as astrophysics. And so now we're talking about societal problems like the growth of the Arab Spring, for example, and studying that actually scientifically, or the climate change problems that we're all facing and so on, the different kinds of communities that have to be brought to bear. So there are many, many activities that have to be integrated. And then also, the idea about innovation. I really began for the first time, I think, to appreciate the importance of entrepreneurship and innovation. So I would talk to Brand about what are you going to be doing, and he's thinking about starting up a company, and and then Ping and others. And so then we have Mosaic and Spyglass and Alpha Shapes and all kinds of things coming out because there was this freedom to do that kind of thing and an understanding that was to be valued. It wasn't something as sort of many of us in traditional science trainings have been trained almost to shun those kind of things. And actually, I think now there's a bit of a phase shift now. People are beginning to embrace those kind of things. And particularly at a university like this, it's part of the mission of a land-grant university to bring economic value back to the state. And so it's something that I'm very, very passionate about doing. So with this training here, I went on and I did a number of other things. I went off to a Max Planck Institute to help start up a brand new institute in gravitational physics. I went to Louisiana State University to help build a new interdisciplinary center for economic development. That's why the governor was willing to invest $9 million a year in it. But of course, we were trying to integrate different activities, in fact, at that time across 13 different departments, always with an idea for integrated science and for economic development. I went to the National Science Foundation, where I oversaw the Directorate of Mathematical and Physical Sciences, and it has a number of different science units within it that in effect span the space of all science: mathematics, physics, chemistry, material science, and so on. And so then the idea of economic development was even invading the National Science Foundation. And so we started up a program called the I-Corps. And we were thinking about how you can get small grants to get scientists interested in doing entrepreneurship, but not just giving them money, but connecting them up to investors to do this. And so I found that extremely rewarding. And then I, in fact, found that so interesting that I was even attracted to go to Russia to build a new university. But the thing that was special about it, and this is what I want to bring back here to the University of Illinois, is that it was a completely new university aimed at complex problems. So we would have interdisciplinary problems in 15 research institutes that we were trying to start up without any departments. So there wasn't a physics department or a computer science department or a chemistry department, but all the faculty would work together in these complex problems. And we had many universities, in fact, over 140 universities vying for funding from us as a Russian institution to help build those new centers. And they were doing this, in particular, MIT was our primary partner. They were doing this to try to create structures that they couldn't create on their home campuses because they had 100 or 200 years of tradition of certain departments behaving in certain ways. So they wanted to try to experiment with new structures. And it's a glorious experiment, and I hope very much that it works over time. But what I'm thinking here is that the University of Illinois, now that I'm back, has the strengths. It has all of these strengths, and it still is struggling, as all universities are, to figure out how to best integrate these different things and to think about solving problems that are important to society and to bring economic value back to society. And so I think what I would really like to be doing here at NCSA is positioning it as one of the connecting centers on the campus that does integrate what's going on in the different departments of the engineering college, and that's why Andreas and Rob and I have been talking a lot about how we work with computer science in the engineering college, but also across the humanities, across the liberal arts and sciences, across all areas of, in fact, of the university. And for example, we've made 2 joint hires now this year with the Graduate School of Library and Information Science as a very good partner of ours. So this is just getting started. I think that we'll have to think a lot about what to do, but this is my aim, to help address some of these challenges right here on this campus with all the great strengths. I think the bigger question is then, how do you train students in this new environment? How do you create the environment of innovation where people can really work together? I think data is an important enabler of that. I mean, if you can think of ways to serve and share data. If scientists communicate these days by sharing data or exchanging data. Even if you talk to someone on the telephone, you're basically exchanging digital data information. And so think about that as sort of a new paradigm. So universities then have to think about how they're going to do this. And I think we can help lead the way here with the work we're doing at the University of Illinois. So I think I would stop there, and I would ask that we have others on the panel make some comments as well. So who would like to go first?
I think I've been elected. Works. Good. The title of the session, I think, is interesting: Entrepreneurship and Transformative Thinking. And I think a lot about entrepreneurship because I fund companies, which means I fund entrepreneurs, and I teach entrepreneurship. And honestly, I think teaching entrepreneurship really has very little to do with entrepreneurship. You teach a set of skills, of crafts, but really what I think an entrepreneur is somebody who gets something done, who decides to change the world in some tangible way, whether it's changing a market or changing how we do things or changing what can be done, and makes that happen. And when you decide to do that, you learn very quickly what that means is knocking down a bunch of problems. And those problems aren't all in the same area. They're not all technical. They're not all business. They're just different. And you see what the next one is, and you knock it down. When I started my first company, Wind River, I wrote the code, so the technical skills were important. But I was also a salesman because I had to go find the business. I was a marketing guy because I had to prepare the stuff. I was an account rep because I had to deal with the customers. I was the IT guy because I had to keep things working. I was the purchasing department. I had to go out and find a place to rent. I was literally the janitor. Somebody had to sweep the floors. And you keep doing all of this stuff, And really, that's what entrepreneurship is. It's not being intimidated by what you don't know. You find out the next thing that needs to happen, and if you don't know how to do it, you figure out who does know or how you're going to learn it, and you get it done. And so in some sense, I think something like the eDream program, where you're working with and trying to develop people who have a natural predilection to do things that way, I think in a sense that's really teaching entrepreneurship. So what we teach in the entrepreneurship are a bunch of skills, and certainly those are important skills: how to write a business plan, and how to do a presentation, and how to assess a market, and those things are very important. But at the end of the day, they are skills. They're not going to change who the person is. And when I look at a company or anything, we usually think of entrepreneurs as people who start companies, but I think that's much too narrow a definition. I think entrepreneurs are people who figure out how to change the world and find where the fulcrum is that allows them to do that. It may be a new company, or it may be a position in an existing company, or it may be in public service, or it may even be in research. But they're going to find once they do that again, it's not all going to fall within one area. So I think this is the kind of program that in fact finds those kind of people. And by the way, I think there's a small number of them. There are teams, and teams are really, really important. But a team is not an entrepreneur. It requires a small number of people who think that way, who are that way, and who are willing to operate that way, who can develop the team and work with the team. But it's really that small number of people, one or a two-person partnership, rarely as many as three, no more than that, who really create this energy that just gets something done. And when I look back, I guess the other thing you asked me to talk about briefly was the experiences that were important to me here at the university, and they weren't in the classroom. They were all over the place. There was a couple of talks that really changed my life, one by Bucky Fuller, who came and spoke at the Assembly Hall. He stepped on stage and he said, I just stepped off the plane on my 85th time around the world. And he talked about what kind of perspective that gave him. Another was by Heinz von Forster, who was an amazing guy, one of the fathers of cybernetics and systems thinking, and he was here for a while. And he talked about information, and it's amazing how a talk can change your life. But if there's one thing that really did it for me, it was a project I worked on. It was driven by a guy named Joe Pinzeroni, who was an instructor, I think. I don't even think he was a professor, maybe an assistant professor in music. And he had a thing where it was a dance costume. So it was a dance costume, it was a leotard with a bunch of mercury switches on it, and they were attached to a big thick cable that this poor dancer had to schlep around with her, that went to a mini computer. Mini computers were like, they were big things back then. And it made music. So it made sounds. Music is a stretch. But she was wearing this leotard and could make sound. And I worked on that, and it really opened my eyes to how things connect. And for me, that was a big part of why I wound up with a master's degree in computer science. So it's these things that happen in sort of odd, accidental ways and accidental places that usually are outside the classroom that were really important to me. And with that, I'll pass it on to, I think, Ping.
Pass it on to me? Okay. So I can honestly say that everything I do today, I learned it here at NCSA and at the University of Illinois. I was a Chinese literature major when I was in China, and I came to the United States, speak very few words of English. I thought I was going to study comparative literature, but I didn't have enough English to do that. I landed here, and I asked around, like, what should I study? And somebody said, why don't you go study computer science? And that was in 1984. And I said, what is that? And it was described to me that literature is art of writing and computer science is science of writing. And I thought, great, I'm going to study that. And I convinced myself that this is the field that instead of writing montages on essays, I was going to write the future, not yet imagined. Sometimes you have to convince yourself to do something hard. I got into computer science and worked with many brilliant people, and I can tell you I didn't quite like it. And then when I when I landed a part-time job at NCSA, I decided to take a class from Donna, which is computer animation, and that's where it really changed my world. And that's when I felt I found my callings, and this is what I want to do. I wanted to combine science and technology. I wanted to combine the physical world and the digital world. I wanted to combine the analytical thinking with how people will feel. So it's all this in-between space that I wanted to work in, not on the edges, but in between. So I started to do things that's pretty much just doesn't have a discipline and doesn't have a major and doesn't have a department. And NCSA was a wonderful place for that. At that time, you can basically look at the ceiling and dream up what you want to do. So I dreamed up this thing called alpha shapes. And it was a mathematical way of defining shapes, and nobody understand what it is at the time. And NSF funded quite a bit of money for me to do that research. Basically, I was trying to construct shapes that are either too small to see, like protein foldings, or too large to comprehend, like galaxies. But while we were doing that, I hired a student. His name is Andreas, and he complained that I paid him $6.75 an hour, which that lasted for 3 years. And Mark and Eric Pina, who lives here in Champaign also, they started this little project on the side called Mosaic, and that rest of it became history. So I was part of the initial Mosaic team, founded that, helped to bring down the university internet at a time when so many people want to download the code, and try to help to sell Mosaic to big companies, and nobody wants it, and went through that whole history of internet. One thing I wanted to point out back then is that really none of us had much of the vision or crystal ball knowing what's coming, but we all had a passion, and we wanted information to be easier to be accessed, and we putting a lot of our heart and soul into making that happen and making that open. And then we made HTTP server to be in public domain. Today, you're still using it. So it's not just entrepreneurship and then start a business, but it's also what can we do to contribute to humanity such that it makes difference. And that's, Jerry says that entrepreneurs are not just people starting company. That's absolutely true. Usually, entrepreneurs starts with something that they have passion, and then they feel that they can change the world, and nobody believes them. And then they won't give up. They will keep going and keep going and keep going. So I call myself a reluctant entrepreneur. I didn't want to start a company. When I started my company, I had a 3-year-old daughter, and I loved working at NCSA. And I was also still brainwashed by the communist system thinking money was evil. So I was the last person would be entrepreneur. But one day I saw a demo from Chuck Hall who was showing 3D printing, and I saw the machine that's not printing out paper but prints out an object and product, and I got hooked instantly. And then very quickly I realized there was no software for that. And the fact that Chuck could even print that part was a miracle. The first part was printed before Macintosh existed, before there was any software that could connect a 3D model to a printer. So when I saw that, I decided that was what I want to do. I want to create software that could capture our real-world object, allow people to design very quickly, and then being able to push a button, print it out like what we're printing paper. And at that time, I did not know what kind of impact would it be. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. So quickly, to give you a few examples of what happened since then, now the technology is on every spaceship that if you have tile damage, it can be imaged, computed, 2 paths created, sent up to the space station, cut it out exactly in the shape of the damage, and being repaired in 5 minutes, and knowing that this will be safe. And early this January, we were able to help a paraplegic woman to walk again. Amanda was paralyzed waist down, and we created lightweight robotic 3D printed bodysuit for her. She was able to walk, and when I watched her smile, I just cried, because imagine that no one have to ever worry about you can't walk again. And the other thing is that there was not a single medical doctor was involved in this invention. It was engineers, artists, creative people made that happen. And 2 months ago, we went to outfit every one of the Boston bombing victims. None of them would ever worry about they cannot walk again. So it's this kind of creativity, invention, and contribution makes entrepreneur wakes up every day, working half-time. Half-time means 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and doing everything like what Jerry said, including cleaning the toilet.
Great.
I'm supposed to follow that?
Thank you.
So kind of downshifting a little bit, that was amazing. One of the things that Ed talked about was engines of innovation. I've been thinking about that. I've got kind of a colorful career. I was just looking. I've never actually done a single job longer than 6 years, so I've done a little bit of everything. And I was thinking there were 2 times in my life where I was in an environment where what I would call 1,000 flowers bloom, where entrepreneurship, doing different things, doing unsponsored things was not only allowed but encouraged. And those 2 times were actually both at the University of Illinois. One was a project called Play-Doh. How many people here have ever heard of Play-Doh? Oh my gosh. I'm back in the home turf. Yes, right. Usually nobody's heard of it, but it was a place where a guy called Don Bitzer strongly encouraged anybody to do anything, and the project basically created organically. The second time that I was in the 1,000 Flowers Bloom environment was at NCSA. I was actually employee number 3 here in 1985. And coming out of that second environment, the first environment I won't talk about today. We had a nice 40th anniversary at the Computer History Museum last year. But at NCSA, we were encouraged by our first director, Larry Smarr, and it will follow in his footsteps, to do whatever would make the project successful. And in particular, we were having a lot of people doing supercomputer simulations. They were generating a lot of numbers. I mean, millions of numbers. At the time, we thought that was pretty big. And there was a guy there called Mike Folk who was able to take that data and generate file formats so people could store their data. And a product called Macintosh 2 had just come out that could do color visualization. And we thought, wouldn't it be neat if we could create products that could visualize the data generated by Mike Folk's team on HDF. And so we created within NCSA a series of visualization products to do just that. And in 1990, myself and the developer of that, Tim Krauskopf, plus an Apple executive called Tony Kane, founded Spyglass, specifically to do visualization. The environment in 1990 was radically different than it was today. At that time, if you wanted to start a company, you went to Silicon Valley and asked for venture funding, and they liked you or they didn't. They wrote you a check for a few $1 million and off you went, which is the route that we followed, specifically as a visualization company. And we did okay as that for several years. Later on in that history, people at the University of Illinois approached the company to see if we would mind commercializing this product called Mosaic, which at the time I had never heard of. And I thought it was a horrible idea because it had nothing to do with massive data. It had nothing to do with visualization. I was wrong. It was the right decision. And one of the lessons that I learned is that we thought that we were a visualization company. Instead, we were a company that commercialized University of Illinois developed technology. And Spyglass, the company I started as a visualization company, became wildly successful as one of the first internet companies. I subsequently founded a second company called Fortner Software, trying to get back into visualization. I give a lot of talks to business classes talking about my experience, and I like to do that because usually when people talk to business classes, they talk about successes. You rarely hear talks about failures. Fortner Software didn't do so well. It partly didn't do so well because Spyglass was very successful. And you don't really learn too much from success. You learn a lot more from failure. And the environment at that time in the 90s was failures were a problem. You shouldn't have a failure. Thankfully, that environment has changed. My step-son-in-law is a serial entrepreneur. He's now on his 8th startup, and this is in the Triangle, North Carolina. And he's only been there for 2.5 years. So we now have an environment where there's quite a bit more churn. There is a footnote to my life story, and then other things happen, and here I am. There's a footnote to that story. My story at NCSA started with this file format called HDF. That file format created by Mike Folk, Mike actually created his own company as a spin-off from HDF, which is here in Champaign-Urbana. And my son actually works for that company now. So we've come full circle. Very briefly, I was asked to talk about how the university contributes to entrepreneurship and success. My notes is that most people in this room are not going to start companies. Most engineering students won't start companies, but most engineering students, I would say, will probably have a time where they work for a startup. And so I think it's very important that every engineering student have a minimal exposure to what a business is. You know, standard profit loss statements, marketing, sales, these standard things, things that I had to learn on the fly. And, you know, it's not rocket science. You just, to know what the experience is of a business, to know that wishful thinking is not a business plan. That is by far the hardest thing to learn. The thing that the University of Illinois almost uniquely offers is lots of people looking for a college to go to think they want an experience where you've got a small university that's very personal. That's fine, but you're not going to get the breadth of interdisciplinary experiences that you do at a major university such as the University of Illinois, where this 1,000 flowers bloom can only happen because so many people, so many world-class people are doing so many world-class things that you discover neat things that will take you far just by running into them, as Ping described there. And the last point I'd like to make is one of the roles of the university is a landing pad for failure. For people to be successful, they have to fail. And having the university welcome those back into the fold so they can find the next new idea, I think is a very valuable role for a place like the university. And thank you so much.
I'm in no way prepared to follow all three of you with your years of success. But I just wanted to say a few words. You probably have heard, I think, by now a lot about me, so I won't go through my whole background. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about why theater and computer science and how that has been important in my path. So I did theater all through high school and middle school, actually, all technical theater. So I was backstage running cables or doing audio or running the light board or things like that. And did that for fun, basically, all through middle school and high school as a theater geek. Came to U of I thinking that I would kind of continue in that vein and maybe make a career out of it. And I got here and quickly realized that unlike high school, theater in the professional world, or and the program here models itself after the professional world, is inherently an interdisciplinary art. because you have on a, any theater production you go and see, on stage you see the actors, right? And so people often think, okay, that's the whole thing. But in reality, someone has designed the costumes that those actors are wearing. Someone's designed the lighting that you're seeing them under, the backdrop of the set, the audio effects you're hearing, the choreography of the movement. All that is designed by individuals on a team in most cases. And so theater inherently requires collaboration between all these different artists. And yes, they're all theater artists to an extent, but they all have their own different area of technical expertise or design expertise. And it's a somewhat unique art form in that sense, in that it requires collaboration and kind of interdisciplinary work to it. And as I started to realize that, I got really excited about that fact. And so when the opportunity came up to come to NCSA, that was a really natural fit for me. And I had always been interested in computers. Back from when I was a kid, I had programmed kind of on the side, nothing intense, nothing professional, mostly web stuff on the web, just messing around as a kid, and started taking some computer science classes for fun, which all of my theater friends thought I was absolutely insane to do. And I was, I don't know, any of you who have taken classes in different fields, often on the first day they'll ask, what is everyone's major? And so I was always the kid at the end who had to be like, okay, anything else? And I'd raise my hand, they'd say, what's your major? And I'd say theater, and get some really weird looks from the classroom, which was always a fun experience. But so I started taking computer science classes and started telling my advisors that, maybe I was going to switch majors to computer science. And they said, well, we'll hook you up with eDream and with Donna Cox to kind of help you get a sense for that world. And so I came over and immediately felt at home here at NCSA and with eDream because they were fundamentally doing the same thing I was doing in theater, which was working together with all these different designers and people in their different areas. They were doing something a little more specialized, applying this advanced research that NCSA had done to artistic work. But it was kind of a very natural place. And I think that the ability to do that, like Bram was talking about, it is somewhat unique to a large university where you have kind of world-class departments all across campus. So it's not just that the University of Illinois has an incredible engineering college, although it does, but it also has an incredible liberal arts and sciences college, an incredible fine applied arts college. And so kind of having excellence all around allows you to then collaborate with other people who are doing excellent work as well. And I think that was really important to my path. But I think it, as Jerry alluded to in his introductory remarks, I think it's still difficult to do that. Being the kid in the class who was the other person from fine and applied arts was weird, and having to go to different departments and walk into the academic office and try to explain why I wanted to register for a closed class that was only open to majors in that area. And them kind of giving me blank looks as I talked about the fact that I was in theater but interested in doing computer science and also doing this other thing. I think it's still difficult. For those of you out there who are interested in doing it, it is possible. You just have to fight for it to do it. But I think hopefully through initiatives like Jerry is setting up, and hopefully kind of coming out of this kind of discussion as we have this on a broader sense, more people will be able to do that, and hopefully the pathways will be there. There'll be scholarships for that. There'll be opportunities, and there'll be classes that are designed to create that. I think the university started discovery classes for freshmen a few years ago. I think that's a really positive change, allowing students to kind of start their university career out by looking at other disciplines outside of their area. And so I think that's really powerful. I'm really excited about seeing that happen here at the University of Illinois.
Thanks. Okay, well that's terrific. I mean, those are really very nice stories, I think, from each of you. I hope everybody would have really enjoyed those. Now I'd like to start up a discussion. We have about 45 minutes, and maybe I'll just start off with a question that I'll pose to all of you. Earlier, we had a remark someone made about, what caused you, what allowed you to go off and do this thing, this next thing, and someone said ignorance, and I was thinking about last night. I had the privilege of being in Washington, where Larry Smarr, the founder of NCSA, was honored with an award called the Golden Goose Award, and it was about the fact that he was trying to solve Einstein's equations, and why would that actually be of any value to society? But it turned out, he needed to do something like an NCSA in order to enable him to solve those equations, and then so many unexpected things came out of it. And last night he said something like, when I started my PhD thesis, I was trying to do this problem of two black holes colliding, and I was trying to do it on computers, and I couldn't do it. And now computers are 100 million times faster, and just a few years ago they solved this problem. So if somebody had told me when I was starting my PhD thesis, you'd need 100 million times more computer power to do it, I probably wouldn't have tried that. So, but he did it because he didn't know that it was sort of not possible to do it, and yet he still laid the foundations, and many amazing things came out of it. So the ability to encourage people to do things, particularly, the young Brands, Austins, and people who were here early on to do things that you just didn't know would have these impacts is important. So I wondered if any of you might comment on that point.
I was the one that made that statement.
Yeah.
We had no clue what starting a company meant. We just thought it sounded kind of neat. And knowing what we know, knowing the things that we didn't know, I'm not sure we would have done it. So maybe that course of telling you what it is might not be that valuable.
Well, I was thinking it's about bringing in young people who've got new and crazy ideas, and they usually go against the sort of conventional wisdom, but if you give them an environment where they can really explore those things, amazing things can happen. Right?
I would say when I started my first company, I was not only ignorant, I was ignorant of the fact that I was ignorant. And honestly, I really didn't care. I mean, I saw something I wanted to do. It looked interesting, and I figured that if I started, somehow it would work itself out, or I would work it out. And I found that building a company really mostly consists of putting one foot in front of the other. You just got to keep on going. And when you reach a point where you don't know where your foot goes next, you find somebody, you hire somebody, you read. It used to be a book, now I guess it's the internet. Somehow you figure it out. So I think that ignorance is probably a good thing, but the only way, well, maybe not a good thing, but there's a lot of faith involved. You have to start, and you have to have some faith that even though I don't know what's coming, it's going to work itself out. I'm going to work it out. I'm going to find somebody to help me. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And sometimes it doesn't. And for that, for me, it's about a direction. So there may be a destination, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to get that destination, while realizing that maybe I won't. But if I don't, maybe the direction I've gone is more important than having reached the destination. It'll put me in a position for the next one. There is faith there. Mm-hmm. There's a faith on the part of everybody. There's faith on the part of the person doing it. There's faith on the part of somebody who's going to fund them. There's faith on the part of somebody who's going to work for them and share that vision. But
about having a vision and then sort of seeing it through, really giving it the energy to see it through.
Yeah, vision's a part of it, but the faith is part of it too.
Right.
So I want to make a point on this also. I work with a lot of entrepreneurial people within the company, because 3D Systems consists of like 40 plus entrepreneurial companies. Because most people, just like we all started without knowing what we're actually going to do, we started with some kind of idea that we want to do. I find that to be extremely interesting. So I would say innocence versus ignorance. And so promoting innocence versus expertise. Because when you think you're expert, you're less curious and you're less willing to work outside of your expertise. Whereas when people have an innocent mind, they're more curious, they're more willing to learn, they're more willing to think outside. Like mathematics, a young people's game, they purposely pick for untrained young people who has a mathematical mind, and they tend to be the ones solve the real problem. And in the business world too, we actually systematically promote the young people rather than the expert. But what we want is people like Austin. People has that round Renaissance man's capability, even though they're untrained, and they have a very innocent mind. So they are open to the entire world. So I would say innocence is a great word to have.
I think you're right. I think innocence is a better word than ignorance. I think you're right.
Well, not having founded a company, I'll speak to kind of my path more recently, I guess, since I'm a recent graduate. I think, while at the university and then since, for me it's been about, positioning myself well and then walking through the doors that I've found opened. And I think that there was certainly, getting to the White House involved a lot of luck. I was lucky enough to get the internship that I did over last summer. I was lucky enough for there to be an opening right at the time when I was able to move and take it. But I think I was also well prepared for that luck to happen. And I kind of took a leap of faith and walked through the door and said, you know what, this looks like a great opportunity. I have no idea if it's going to pay off or it's going to be the right thing, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of take that leap of faith. And so I think kind of positioning yourself well and then getting lucky is a big part of it.
Good. Okay. I'll try one more, and then I'll try to dig out some questions from the audience here. So I was thinking about interdisciplinarity, and a lot of times people think, oh, that's like physics plus biology or mathematics plus chemistry, or it's sort of formulaic, and it rarely involves the creative arts, actually, when people think about that. But here I think we have something really very special. In fact, I think nearly all of you have been touched by the creative arts because they're very strong at the campus here, and we've sort of got a place where we allow them to intersect, and particularly NCSA has been very strong at doing that. And it reminded me of about a year and a half ago, Gab and I went out to San Diego from Skull Tech, from Moscow, specifically to talk with Larry Smart and Tom DeFonte, and we were describing this great vision of this new interdisciplinary university and so on. And Tom just says, well, how are you say you're going to do innovation. How are you going to do innovation without the creative arts being mixed in? And he was like, yes, exactly, that's right. But that university is right now just thinking only about that. So I was thinking we've just got to find a way to mix those in. And I just wonder if you might comment on the value of that to the things you're doing now. Anyone? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I think, the creative arts, I think in the arts world, much in the same way I think in the science world, as Ping was alluding to, where you kind of are innocent about what is possible and what is not possible. That's true in the artistic and the creative world. And that's, people doing out-of-the-box things is almost expected in the arts world. It's how you move forward. It's what you do. The most celebrated artists in the world are the ones who did something completely unexpected that then is seen as visionary or genius, right? But if you look in hindsight, they were probably following their passion or messing around or trying out something new that ended up kind of stumbling upon, certainly talented, but trying new things and pushing boundaries and finding that. And I think that kind of attitude is really valuable and really brings a lot to any team. And I think that from a larger sense, for interdisciplinary studies and interdisciplinary work, a lot of fields have gone a long way, and we're certainly very advanced where we are now. But I think there's huge opportunities at between these cracks where people haven't gotten together yet. I was reading an article the other day about how architects and doctors and medical technologists were working together to redesign what hospital rooms looked like, because it turns out that if you bring a creative architect in and some designers, you can radically increase patient outcomes just by changing the decor of the room and the way it's set up. And so I think those kind of collaborations between people, between disciplines are the future of really groundbreaking work. And I think that having the University of Illinois, obviously, in these kind of programs is critical to fostering that.
Any other comments?
I think that's really true, that people working together find solutions from very different places, find solutions that none of them would have found alone. But let me give you another concrete example. I've often told people that the best computer science class I ever had was my composition seminar with Herbert Brun. So when I was here studying computer science in the mid-'70s, it was still quite a young discipline. There was not a long tradition of the pedagogy surrounding computer science, and I learned skills. But the person who taught me to think, who really did that, was Herbert Brun, who was a professor of composition, and he was quite an exceptional guy. He was very creative. He was really brilliant in his own way. But he had a way of sort of he wasn't really teaching you so much as sort of going in and mushing up the gray matter and really changing the way that you see the world and the way that you operate. And there was certainly nobody in in the technical arts who was able to do that in the way that Herbert could. And really you're doing the same thing. When you're creating a composition, you're creating something very complex that's coherent, that hangs together, that makes sense, that solves some problem. And that's exactly what you're doing when you write a piece of software. You're somehow developing all of this within your mind, and it's only the last step of then what do I do? Do I instantiate that as code, or do I instantiate that as a piece of music? And that's different, but that last part is really a skill. And I think for a lot of people, the way that they can really learn that is by doing something different that's maybe even out of their comfort zone, but that really gets them to think about things in a different way. And that can really develop us at a much deeper level than sometimes the skills that we learn.
All right. So let's see if we can get a question from the audience. We have 2 microphones here, and we really want to encourage people. Come on up.
Hi, I have a question of what are your opinions about accelerator programs or pre-accelerator programs where an individual or group of individuals will come in, think of an idea, hack it together, and they present it to this organization that perhaps runs this accelerator or pre-accelerator program. And what they do is they take that idea and they guide you through the step of creating like some sort of company. And I think that's very applicable to this talk on entrepreneurship. And I was wondering what your opinions are about organizations such as those. Thank you.
Can I take that class? I mean, that sort of thing didn't exist when I was a student here, and that's pretty much what I was asking about, is giving every engineering student that sort of experience of, it's not just the technology, it's the whole bringing it to market and creating the business around it. Other than that, I'm just jealous. I don't know much about the program, but it sounds great.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of things that happen in universities today that didn't when at least 3 of us were here. Things like business plan competitions and such that can bring things together and help you develop an idea. But it is important to know that at the end of that, you still have an idea. It's a better developed idea, and maybe it's the beginnings of a plan, but most of the work in terms of making that successful is yet to come. And that's a slog. But it's a great way to get started. I think it's a very good thing.
What do you think?
About the notion of what the accelerator program is.
Well, do you think it, I mean, do you think that that's something that, oh, thank you. Do you think that that's something that every student should go through?
Well, personally, I have an engineering background, and I have no idea like how the process of forming a company is. And I think it's a great way to gain exposure in that world if you're not trained in that as your major.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents about it. So.
Okay, well, you got my vote.
I'll just add one comment on this. So at Skull Tech, when there are no departments there are no requirements yet, and so on, the idea was that every student, and in fact every postdoc and every professor, would have to have some aspect of entrepreneurship. And so in fact every student would be trained in what it means to sort of take an idea and sort of design something and then take it all the way to what would it mean to start a company. It's not like so you wouldn't have to start a company to get tenure. I mean, wouldn't that be a strange twist on universities? But on the other hand, it was to be valued. And so that was really formally part of the development of the curriculum there.
Yeah, if you have an opportunity to take one of those programs, you will learn a lot of life skills. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to start a business, but I think the skill that you learn there will impact your life journey.
By the way, when people ask me whether they should start a company, I usually tell them no. And it's not because I don't think they should, although often they shouldn't. But it's really because if my saying no can talk them out of it, then they shouldn't do it. Really, the only way you should do it is if I can't talk you out of it, then go ahead, and then I'll do anything I can to help you out. But if you're that close to the edge, then by all means, stay away from it. There are plenty of other ways to be entrepreneurial besides starting a company.
Good. Go ahead. Question right here.
Hi, I'm Morgan, and as a business student who is also very involved in the music community and an anthro minor, I'm wondering what your opinion is. There's been a lot of talk about the creative arts and humanities and technology and engineering. How do you see the business world taking advantage of the cross-disciplinary opportunities? And what's the future for that?
Well, a lot of times the right way so if entrepreneurship is the process of making something, of changing the world from an idea, there's a lot of ways that can happen, and there's a lot of points from which a person can do that. You can do it from public service, you can do it from academia, you can do it from another company, but often the right way to do it is to start a company to do it. And as soon as you do that, you realize there's a large set of skills and capabilities you need, and that's what business school teaches you. It teaches people those skills and capabilities. I think, honestly, it's pretty rare for somebody who's only had business background to successfully start a company. But I think it's a very important part of the process. And so it may be in a partnership role, or it may be a part of your education where you do other things. I rarely encourage people to get an undergraduate in business. I'll tell them, again, I'm not always right, but do something else. Do engineering, do music, do whatever it is you want to do, and do it for a bit. And then if you still think that it's important, go back and get an MBA. And many MBA programs will take people from varied backgrounds. So I think it's a very important set of skills, but I think it's rarely sufficient in and of itself to give you a place to go.
I just have a quick comment. I've talked to many business classes, and I think certain types of people think that if they get straight A's in their MBA program, that they're guaranteed success. It doesn't really work that way. People don't really appreciate the chance that randomness plays in startup success or failure. And I think that's something that they have to take into account. That having a base level of business knowledge, I think, is very important for success, but it certainly doesn't guarantee it.
Question. There was another question. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mayank Jain. I'm a junior in the computer science program here. And my question, since you guys all have such interdisciplinary backgrounds and stuff like that, one thing I've noticed in the entrepreneurial community on campus is sort of a disconnect between the north and south side of campus and like engineering versus business and stuff like that. Like I see a lot of engineers who have like very interesting projects and they work on it, and then they like never go out and like try to get users or get people to use it or ever sell it. And then you see a lot of business majors who have like really great ideas, but then they're like, oh, I don't know how to build this. Like, I don't know what to do. And I was wondering if you guys have probably been around to a lot of different universities or places and stuff like that, if you'd seen anything like particularly unique in terms of like bringing these two communities together and sort of like in a more, to increase collaboration between the schools.
I think programs like SPIN, in particular that NCSA started 2 years ago now, I guess, are a really good example of that. Bringing students from all over campus and getting them together in a room, each maybe with their own idea, but with the ability then to work together. I think those kind of projects create that collaboration. So if you get a bunch of students together who have really good ideas, you can pair up and you can find that, hey, you know what, my idea is actually quite similar to yours. Let's work together. And I think so creating those kind of forums in those locations, those areas, those centers on campus that allow that collaboration is critical to creating that interdisciplinary work.
Actually, I would say your boots on the ground. You know these two audiences. Maybe you should be an entrepreneur in terms of figuring out a program to get the two programs together.
I'm working on it, but I wanted to see what you guys had to say.
Yeah.
What's your program?
Well, we're starting out small right now. We're holding a gathering of, I've selected a couple entrepreneurs that I know on campus, and we're going to sort of meet up next week, and then we're going to slowly figure out how to like invite more people to those events and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on just now.
You're a meta-entrepreneur.
A general message just back is, if you have some good ideas and you start putting some energy in it and you let people know about it, you'll find very likely you'll get some traction. So yeah, love to hear more about these ideas.
I would say it's encouraging people like you is the way to do it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, come on.
I just want to point out that there is an event called Social Cues that's run by TEC, and it exactly does what you're asking, which is bring people who have ideas bring people that have ideas together with people that would like to help. So we saw people presenting and pitching from College of Business, Mechanical Engineering. So they come and I have such and such idea. I'm looking for marketing person, computer science person. So there are some ideas, and it's particular, I think it's run by TEC Group.
Hi, I'm actually wondering, I know several of you have experience in both Illinois and San Francisco, and I'm wondering if you have comments on sort of the regional sensibilities about supporting entrepreneurs, new businesses, entrepreneurship that's not in new businesses, and what the differences are in living in different places.
It's a lot cheaper here. You know, I love it here. And if I didn't have a wife who would never even discuss the matter, I might even consider coming back. But it's, they're very, very different places. And I think one of the real advantages of Champaign-Urbana is lack of distraction. I got a lot of work done here because you could imagine living in the Bay Area is a very distracting place. There's just stuff going on all the time. As a musician, I developed a community, because I was a pretty serious musician at the time, I developed a community of people here, and there was always opportunities. In San Francisco, there were so many that it was really hard to develop that community. So it seems counterintuitive, but I could never find people to play with there. It's sort of odd. The one thing I will say is if you want to start a company, it's really, San Francisco, the Bay Area is set up like nowhere else in the world, because there's all these different things that you need, and they're all there. So you've got ideas and employees coming out of places like Berkeley and Stanford. You've got the entire capital creation chain from angel investors through venture capitalists through investment banks. You've got lawyers that understand the startup process. You've got accountants who understand and are willing to work cheaply, as well as lawyers, as you're a startup, knowing that they'll want to develop that relationship later. You've got real estate people who understand it and make space available that can grow. You've got employees who understand how the stock option process works, which is often what you're doing early. So you've got all of these things, and there's really nowhere else in the world that I know of that has all of those in the same way, and including Illinois. So I will say that it's much easier to start a business there for those reasons. Having said that, it's also a lot more expensive there. And if you can do it here, you can do it for a lot less money here. And now with the internet, things are happening in such a massively distributed way anyway, that often what you've got is a few people there and really your team is distributed worldwide. That ain't easy. So I mean, there is a lot of value that's gained by team cohesion that's hard to develop in that way, but certainly there are companies that are very successful with that kind of model.
So I started my business here in the cornfield. And then I moved entire company to North Carolina because my husband took a job at Duke. So I took the daughter and company with me. And now other companies around the world. So I've worked in many, many places. I would say every location has its own plus and minus. But one thing that I would stress is that it's not enough for you to start a business, be an entrepreneur. You need to be a company in that local location. You need to be a good citizen of that community. If you are the company that is a star of that community, great people would fly to you. It doesn't really matter where you are. Like when I was in RTP, people from Silicon Valley, Boston, everybody want to come there because we were the one that's known as, right after Google, you want to work for Geomagic, right? And we did that by being good citizens. We did that by contributing to the people that we can touch. You know, and the brand said, "Oh, I see you guys in the newspaper all the time, right?" You said it's all good. We wasn't just in newspaper because we were in high tech. We were in the newspaper because we fundamentally are good citizen of that community. Right, and that to me is very, very important, and that is the difference between today's business versus the business in 80s and 90s. In 80s and 90s, you can just be great technology, be a great company. Today, you want to be a great company, you have to be first to be great citizen.
Yeah, I would second that. I don't have any experience in the Bay Area, but I do have experience in Research Triangle, where Ping is. And in fact, Ping's company was part of what has grown the Triangle and being one of the major entrepreneurial centers in the country. There's Bay Area, Boston, Austin, us, and I'm not really sure who else is on that list. But it did strike me that one of the advantages that Illinois has over Research Triangle, which is very entrepreneurial, is that the Research Triangle has three major universities that the in-depth, world-class experience is a little diffuse. There's a lot of people there, and the thing that strikes me about Illinois is that it's a single university, and it's very intense. I run into people at the airport that work. In fact, I did this flight. I run into people just walking down the street. You have a much more intense interdisciplinary experience here than any other place I've lived. Hi.
Take the microphone. It's okay.
Hey, so I remember you discussing the importance of learning from your failures.
Yes. And
that resonated a lot with me because just this past month I've had my first entrepreneurial failure. And thank you. But I was wondering if maybe some of you could share some stories or discuss what you've learned from your failed ventures.
Very briefly, what I learned is that you have to be very careful. I learned two most important things. One is that Spyglass was very successful for really irrational and random issues. And I assumed that the path that we followed and the path that I followed in creating Spyglass and growing Spyglass was the proper path to success. And it wasn't. It was just random luck. Taking those lessons and applying them to a completely different company, which was my second company, didn't work. And I didn't really learn that lesson very well. The second lesson I learned, which cost me a lot of money, was that the way people deal with risk is very different. When you're playing poker and you're either even or you're winning, you play in a certain way, fairly conservative. When you're losing, you play in a completely different way. And so one of the things I learned is when you're failing, and for me it was you can't fail, you can't fail, you can't fail. So you play to win, meaning that you go all in and you bet everything when you really shouldn't. And so it's a matter of keeping a very cold, rational eye on all of your decisions and knowing when to fold.
How would playing to win look like in terms of business?
Taking all of my money and putting it into the company, that's playing to win. And that was the wrong decision at the time. I told myself a story which was the wrong story to tell me. There's a joke that goes on where a guy's going to come up to his king and the king is going to execute him. And the guy says, wait, don't execute me. I can make your horse talk. And the guy says, you can't make a horse talk. He says, tell you what, give me a year to make the horse talk. And if I can't make the horse talk, go ahead and execute me. You've got nothing to lose. And the king says, sounds reasonable. His fellow prisoner said, why did you do that? You can't make a horse talk. And he says, years a long time. King could die. I could die. Horse could talk. And I use that as the mantra for my second company, because I kept on expecting a miracle to happen, and I didn't. So it's being aware of that change in your risk profile as you go from winning to losing. That is something that I've subsequently learned. And luckily, I think the environment today is much more forgiving of failures because there's just so many other companies out there. And, people that have been in the business, when you say I failed at this, it's like, yeah, okay, you clicked off that mark. People that hadn't been thought that was a black mark on you. It's not. It's a badge of honor.
So my the lesson I learned was when I started business, I never started business before. I was a female in a tech world, and I was twice the age of anyone I could see. So I hired a CEO to run the company and stepped aside as a CTO, and I pat myself on the back and saying, I don't have my ego. I check my ego at the door. I'm going to hire somebody from IBM to run the company. And he almost ran the company down to the gutter, right? And
I've got two stories along that line.
Yeah.
One guy embezzled, but go on.
So I came back and became a CEO and took the company to success. And then when I look back, the mistake I made was I didn't trust myself. I didn't have the self-confidence to run the company. And I saw that I need to know everything to run the company. And in reality is no one teach you how to be a CEO. There's no book teach you. Every company is different. No CEO really knows how to run a company. I didn't know that. I thought I didn't know, so I'm going to hire someone to know who knows. You need to learn along the journey. Okay, so that's a deep lesson that I learned, and from that I derived that it is not that important you're right, but it is very important that you're clear. So if you're clearly wrong, people can correct you. If you're clearly right, people can follow you. So try to be clear, then try to be right.
I don't know if I have any. Let me make a comment on one thing that you talked about, though, and that's risk. And people think of entrepreneurs as risk takers, and really, it's sort of true in that when you take the dive in and say, "I'm going to do this," let's say starting a company, you're taking a risk, and you're asking other people to come along with you. From that day on, the rest of your life is reducing risk. From that day on, everything you do is trying to take the risk out of it. You're trying to find a customer, you're trying to build a prototype, you're trying to get some revenue, you're trying to get enough financing that you can do this. All of those things reduce the risk, and the way that the value of your company rises is that you're removing the risk from it. So it takes really an entrepreneur is somebody who's willing to take it, but then really learns how, and then from that point on is very risk averse. And your story about trying to bet the company on one thing exactly is in the other direction from that. That's something that would make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it did. I do want to emphasize something that Ping said about hiring people. One of the things I learned to my horror was that we, as the owners of the company, are driven to make sure that this is going to succeed at all costs. The people we hire, not so much. To them, it's a job. I hired two CEOs thinking that they would save the company, and both CEOs, in my case, they almost sank it. And even though I didn't feel prepared to run a company, I was the best choice because it was life to me. It wasn't just a job. And your experience emphasizes that.
I would say the other thing about I would stop short of saying that failures are a badge of honor. I don't think they're a black mark, but it's a way to learn something, and if you can show me something you learned by doing it, by all means, that's a good thing. But it's the learning that's valuable, not the failure. But the other thing you got to do is you got to learn to let it go. I mean, I coached Little League Baseball for many years, and one of the things kids have a hard time learning is the fact that you made an error. You got to forget about it. You got to put that out of your mind. The fact that you struck out last time up, you got to put that out of your mind because your job is to do whatever you're going to do next. And if you're thinking about your failure, you're not going to succeed. You just got to move past it. I mean, I started to learn to play golf a couple of years ago. You're not going to be very good when you start learning it over the age of 60, and I'm not. But I've found that when I go home, it doesn't matter that I shot 140. Okay, I never shot 140, but I don't remember any of the bad things I did. I remember the two great shots that I took. And you need to be able to teach yourself to celebrate the things that you do well, even if they're small things. And the bad things, you got to learn from them, but after you learn from them, you got to let them go. You can't get wrapped up in them.
Question from another young entrepreneur here.
The definition of social entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship that really looks at the society and its needs, something that really needs to be solved and that would be of benefit to society. These are, in some cases, the grand challenges of our society. Can you all speak, each of you, including you, Ed, what you think are the grand challenges today, and can you share, without giving away any trade secrets, ventures that you may have seen or been planning that would address some of the grand challenges of our society?
I can't address the grand challenges. I'm not, that's beyond my scope. But I do have a story to tell you. Some years ago, I came back here to talk to a bunch of undergraduates taking an entrepreneurship class. And I was presented with several business plans by these undergraduates. And one of the undergraduates came in and said that he was going to make solar-powered LED lights for the third world, which solves a particular problem, a narrow problem of the fact that people in the third world, their light comes from fire inside the hut, and the pollution kills kids and makes it so they can't study, and it's just horrible. And a solar-powered LED solves that problem. And I remember saying, well, I just came back from a conference where there were 3 groups presenting solar-powered lights for the third world. And he says, yeah, I'm familiar with those groups. And what those groups do is you got a professor who makes a few hundred of these lights. They go to a third world village. They install a few of them. They get their grant funded. They get videos made. They leave. The solar-powered lights break. End of story. He says, we have to do it as a for-profit. And I says, well, yeah, but how can you know that you can manufacture these solar-powered lights for the third world? He says, well, because I've been to the factory in China. And I says, well, but how do you know that you can distribute this? Because you can't just sell them from the United States. He says, well, you have to have a distribution network in country by people who have a profit motive and who will be there on site to service these when they break or if there's a problem. Because if you just parachute them in, it doesn't do any good. And I says, well, how do you know that you can establish such a network? He says, I already have in India. I've been there 3 times. And I says, so you're looking for funding? And he says, yeah. I says, sign me up. And he's doing very well now. It's called Green Light Planet. So it was not just the idea. It was because the idea was very common, is very common. It's following through with the entire process of how can we make a difference without just parachuting in? How can we be part of the entire infrastructure? So.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, a lot of time we talk about social entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship as they are 2 different beasts. But in reality is that all of the corporations should have a social conscience, right? And then if you have a nonprofit organization who takes taxpayers' money and could not run it in the efficiency of for-profit, it's not going to sustain either, and it's not really creating the value. And there's no reason that those cannot coexist, but they all need to run in a way that is efficient. It's not really using a lot of taxpayers' money. It has good purpose, and it needs to be able to sustain itself. And if you don't, if you can't, then you're not really creating value.
I'll talk specifically, so I'll repeat Donna's disclaimer from earlier that I'm speaking in my personal capacity and not on behalf of the administration of the White House before I say this. But obviously being in government, I think there's some unique opportunities to be an entrepreneur in government. We kind of talked about how entrepreneurship is bigger than starting a company, and I think if you think about the federal government, it's the largest company, I think in the world actually, and definitely in the country. Employs the most people in the country and has the potential to have some of the biggest change in the country and what you can kind of do from that platform. And I think there's a lot of opportunities, in 2014 in this day and age, to bring in some of the lessons that have been learned over the past few years in the entrepreneurial community, in Silicon Valley, in technology, in the sciences, and kind of apply those to government and making government better. And so I think that for me, one of the big challenges that excites me that I'm working on very, very tangentially is making government better through technology and specifically through using computers and big data and things like that. And I think that government touches all of us and it affects all of us. And so an investment there or going into government and bringing entrepreneurial thinking and skills, even if you're there for a short period of time, can be really powerful. And so that's my little pitch for government. And so come find me afterwards if that sounded really interesting.
I think that's a really good one, by the way. There are a number of megatrends that you could call either grand challenges or grand opportunities. Certainly one of the grand challenges is climate change. And so there's a gazillion opportunities around that, everything from technology to policy to urban design to transportation, all sorts of things, food systems, agriculture, all sorts of things. There is a mass migration out of from urbanization, right? People moving out of the rural world and into cities, and you can look at just cities growing amazingly quickly, and doing it by adding these huge favelas, shantytown kind of things, and all of the opportunity of how do you integrate those people into a very different kind of society, and all of the opportunities around what will those people do and what sort of things will they create. I think another one is governance. I think technology used properly can rescue democracy, which to me in some ways is looking a little shaky, and I think there's all sorts of things that can be done in that way. There's food systems, and then there are opportunities, and they come from computational abilities, from what's happening in biology with biology is at the same stage now that I think computer science was when I started to do it, whatever it was, 40 years ago, in terms of the sort of opportunities that are presented by biotechnologies in all areas, from industrial to medical to whatever, and then nano, which is one that got a lot of press a couple of years ago, sort of high on the hype curve, and then there's this period where the hype curve settles down, but there's huge opportunities still coming out. And it's very closely linked to bio. In some ways, bio and nano are kind of the same thing. So that's a few. I could do more, but it'll probably keep all of you busy for a few days. So
I'd throw out one more, I think, that some people, Peter Chiel has talked about, others have talked about, which is education and universities, and rethinking what it means to be in a university and rethinking what it means to have a 21st century education and to prepare you for this world. And I think everyone in this room is uniquely positioned to potentially work on that issue. And there's some very interesting things going on about, do we replace universities? Do we augment universities? Do we extend universities? What does it mean to have a higher education? I think that'll be exciting to see where that goes.
What does it mean to be educated?
Yes, yeah.
And that's changing unbelievably fast, right?
That's
so it's moving right from under us. We have a couple more questions, I think. Go ahead.
So everyone views things from a different perspective, and some people notice things that others don't for different reasons. So my question for the panelists, I was hoping you would be able to answer. Maybe could you name something and the reason why that you noticed or were surprised by something recently, either in life or in the world, technology, anything? As long as it had to surprise you, though. You couldn't expect it.
Well, I'll mention one that there's probably a lot. I'm surprised often. But there was one I was talking about with Ping just a couple hours ago. My daughter's in engineering school. This is one of the big ones. She's in Olin College of Engineering, maybe the littlest one. And she was home for the summer working at a little company called OpenROV that's doing an open source underwater robot. If you've never heard of it, look it up. It's really cool. What amazed me about the way they were working was when I was studying, there was this clear, bright line between hardware and software. You were working on one or the other, or maybe one then the other. And for her, that line had completely broken down. She'd be coding, or she'd be working in a CAD program and then running something out to a CNC machine and bringing it in. And this process of creating this open source, fully open source, both hardware and software, robotic system, this line had broken down. And that really, I found it really, really fascinating sort of watching how they were doing it. And a very small team of I think 4 or 5 full-time staff surrounded by an open source community of hundreds or thousands of people buying these things just could do amazing things, way more than I would have expected a 4-person essentially unfunded team in Berkeley to be able to do. So there's more, but maybe there's mine.
So one of the things I take notice, we all know in game theory, collective wisdom always beats the individual expert. And you guys are actually in the era, it's the very first time in human history that we can extend our mental self, meaning many people from any corner of the world can work on the same problem at the same time. I have witnessed in the last few years to see teams who have never met each other was able to use the networked world to solve problems that we would never imagine can be solved, because the ability to find people have variety of knowledge to make something happen. This paraplegic robotic bodysuit is one good example of it. The team worked together, come from 5 continents and 8 different countries. They never met each other, right? And the reason is, a lot of time in the past, if you work those problem in one company or something, you may missing this 20% knowledge, and that 20% knowledge, that hard knowledge, may take you 20 years to obtain. And today, if you're missing something, you can find them. You can find them instantly. You can get teamwork together. So you guys can solve much bigger problem today, because that it's not one brain works on it, it's everyone can work on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, can I do one more?
Sure.
I've been surprised by a sort of shift in my own thinking. Take it for what it's worth. But a few years ago, I gave a talk here, and one of the things I talked about was what's called the singularity, which is the time at which machine intelligence actually becomes greater than human intelligence. You get an intelligence that's higher than human capability, and you have computers that are potentially able to reproduce with robots and things like that. And at the time, I thought of that as a sort of a kooky idea. And I've come really just recently in my own mind to think that it's not kooky at all. I think it's inevitable. And it's a question of when rather than if. And it's interesting for me that surprising to me, maybe in reference to your question, that one of the things that's driven me that way is science fiction. And some of the things I've read recently that have shown me what I think is a very plausible scenario for how that happens. So I've been surprised by that shift. Not something I've seen externally, but something internally.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, I think we probably have time for one more question. Mike?
Yeah, so thanks for the tremendous number of really interesting and intriguing comments that have been made, and for putting it all together, Ed and Donna. I'm fascinated by personality types, and I'm sure there are lots of different theories about the entrepreneurial personality. You guys have pointed to various characteristics and attributes that seem to be sort of core to the potential success of an entrepreneur. The ability to be persistent, passion, being just a couple of them. And sort of along that zest and grit factor line, I'm wondering if you have any ideas to help individuals discover and unleash or increase their zest and grit factors. Some people just seem to come with a lot of it naturally. Others, I think, kind of wish they had it. And just any ideas that you may have.
I think the way you do it is by helping people discover that they already have it. I think a lot of people do, and they've been through an educational system that's kept them focused on the next midterm or getting the grade or whatever, and those are really not very useful goals. They're maybe useful measurements for whether you've picked up a particular skill. But I think the way you do it is by setting goals for people and expecting them to get there and show you how they got there. And for me, one of the pivotal experiences was Outward Bound, which I did when I was about 19, which does exactly that. It's an outdoor program, but it's an outdoor program that's there not to teach you about the outdoors, but to teach you about yourself by continuing to set you goals, in this case physical goals, beyond what you thought you could accomplish, and somehow you keep doing it, and you realize that these things, these barriers that were in the way weren't really barriers except ones I had set for myself. And I think you can do the same thing educationally. You set hard goals for people, you set real challenges, and expect them to reach them and figure out how to do it. And I think that you will, and those shouldn't be, like I said, pass the next test. It's a very different kind of thing. By the way, I think, Mike, you're a perfect example of somebody who's very entrepreneurial, somebody who could have come in and run a performance center, but what you do is way more than that, because you've set, a goal that's much larger than that. I think it's a perfect example.
Just briefly, I'm not sure that there's an entrepreneurial personality type. I've met a lot of entrepreneurs that are just all over the map. There's introverts, extroverts. But I think that to follow your question about what can you do to bring that out is the course that was mentioned. I think if every student was part of just a simple project trying to bring something that it would expose people to say that you actually can do it. Okay. It reduces the barrier to thought of that.
Okay. Ping, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to say it's always a journey, never a destination. So for me, that the entrepreneurial journey, through that journey, what I learned and then what I was able to push myself to do along that journey is the most interesting. It wasn't like I set out to do this, but it's the surprise and delight of looking at it and say, oh, I didn't know I could do this. But you did it. You learn, you make mistake, you move, and you look back, you become a different person.
Are you saying the journey is the destination?
I think the journey, it's always a journey.
I think the having a passion behind it is a really big part of it. And, I think to your question, Mike, that if people discover kind of what they're passionate about, or what they're excited about, or what really gets them up in the morning to go to work or to go to class or to work on a project, the grit kind of comes along with it, right? Because if you're so excited about it, you're going to keep chasing it. And I think kind of helping people discover what that is for them almost naturally brings out that characteristic in them. And I think that cross-disciplinaryism, to return to our topic, the overall topic, is really important to helping people find it, because you get to discover so many things. When you work with other people who are doing different things, you inevitably discover other areas that might be of interest to you.
Well, thank you all very much. So on the note of sort of having a little time to discover a little bit more about entrepreneurship or interdisciplinarity, we're going to have a reception now, and I think maybe have time for a little more personal discussion with people. So I think in an era where people have no time for anything in 5-minute attention spans, we've been here for over 2 hours, and almost everybody's still here. So I think that's very, very successful. I want to thank you all for a great discussion. I want to congratulate Austin, and I want to thank Donna for really pulling this thing off. Thank you very much.